Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, Hoai Ca continues to bring you the unfinished story of Hoai Ca and Hung. Hung's mother is still missing, and the past few days have been an especially heavy and anxious time for those who remain. We hope you will watch today's video to feel and better understand the next developments in this story. The morning passes in what seems like an ordinary rhythm of life. Hoai Ca walks into the familiar market she visits every day. Stalls line up side by side, the lively sounds of buyers and sellers fill the air, and the fresh scent of vegetables mingles all around. Hoai Ca slowly selects carrots still dusted with soil, picks a few red chilies, then gathers a small bundle of garlic for the day's simple meal. Everything is familiar and ordinary, just like any other day. Yet inside Hoai Ca's heart, there is no peace. Each time she reaches for the vegetables, her thoughts drift back to Hung at home, to a house missing someone important. Though she tries to appear calm, a vague sense of unease creeps into her mind, making each step on the way home slower than usual. Meanwhile, at home, Hung is on edge. The familiar room suddenly feels stifling and strangely empty. It has been 3 days, and his mother has still not returned. 3 days may not seem long to many people, but for Hung, they are 3 exhausting days of waiting and constant worry. Every morning when he wakes up, he hopes to see his mother in the kitchen, or at least hear the familiar sounds of movement in the house. Instead, all he is met with is a heavy silence that weighs on his heart. Hung stands in the middle of the house, his eyes scanning the familiar items his mother used every day. Everything is still there, unchanged, except for her presence. That absence feels like a vast, unfillable void. He paces back and forth, his heart burning with anxiety, unsure of what to do other than repeatedly calling out for his mother. His voice grows hoarse from calling too much, from hoping too much and being disappointed again and again. Mom. Mom. His voice echoes through the empty house, but there is no answer. The sound fades into the cold space, leaving behind a suffocating sense of loneliness in Hung's heart. The phone in his hand vibrates briefly, then falls silent again. Hung tries calling once more, and then again, but it is all in vain. The number cannot be reached. The familiar automated message plays over and over, indifferent and mechanical, as if cutting deeper into the mounting worry inside him. Each time he hears it, Hung's heart tightens. He wonders where his mother is, whether something has happened to her, or if someone is preventing her from contacting the family. What troubles Hung the most is that the debt repayment money has already been fully prepared. Bit by bit, he struggled to gather it over time, driven by the single hope of resolving everything for his mother. He believed that once the money was ready, things would settle down, and his mother would no longer have to live in fear or anxiety. Yet reality turns out to be the complete opposite. The money is ready, but his mother has vanished without a trace. That contradiction leaves Hung unable to find any peace. Thoughts pile up endlessly in his mind. He recalls his mother's pensive look in recent days, her unusual silences, and the evasive answers whenever he tried to ask how she was doing. At the time, he only thought she was tired, that she needed some rest. Now, each small detail resurfaces clearly in his mind, like scattered pieces slowly coming together to form a deeply unsettling picture. A bad feeling clings to Hung. It is vague, yet strong enough to keep him restless. It seeps into every thought and every breath, making it impossible for him to focus on anything else. Though he tries to reassure himself that perhaps his mother has only gone away for a few days, that everything will eventually be fine, deep down, Hung knows he is afraid. This prolonged silence is not normal. Outside, life continues as if nothing has happened. People pass by, time moves on minute by minute, hour by hour. But inside that small house, Hung still stands there, caught between waiting and worry, longing for the simplest thing of all, for his mother to return home safely. In another place, far from Hung's home, amid a desolate and silent landscape, his mother lies unconscious, her frail body utterly exhausted after the ordeal she has just endured. She has almost no strength left, her breathing is so faint it is barely noticeable unless one leans in close. Her face is pale and smeared with dirt, her hair disheveled and damp with cold sweat. Around her are only wild grass, damp soil, and an unbroken silence, as if the world itself has forgotten the existence of this woman. A poor villager, out gathering grass as he usually did, happened to discover her by chance. At first, he saw only a motionless figure lying by the roadside, seemingly a lifeless body abandoned in the wilderness. As he moved closer and caught sight of her gaunt face, realizing that there was still a fragile breath left in her, his heart tightened. He stood there for a long moment, hesitation and fear flashing through his mind. But seeing the woman curled up, alone and so helpless, he could not bring himself to turn away. He carefully lifted her, found a place to shield her from the sun and rain, and then brought her back to his small hut. The humble dwelling had nothing of value, just enough to provide shelter, but it was the only place he could think of to save her life. For 2 full days, he quietly cared for her with everything he had. He checked her pulse with the little experience he had gained from years of hardship, wiped her body with clean water, every movement slow and gentle, as if afraid of causing her more pain. Each bowl of thin porridge he cooked came from his own meager portion, spooning it little by little, hoping she could swallow even a small amount. The herbal remedies he hastily gathered from the forest were uncertain in their effect, but they were the only hope he could cling to. He boiled the herbs, strained them carefully, and patiently fed her sip by sip, then sat beside her for hours, watching her breathing. When night fell and silence enveloped everything, he did not dare fall into a deep sleep. At the slightest movement from her, his heart would race, caught between relief and worry. Fear lingered constantly in his heart. He feared being implicated, feared that taking in someone of unknown background might bring trouble upon himself. He also feared his own limitations, afraid he would not be able to care for her if her condition worsened. Yet each time he looked at her emaciated face, all those fears were pushed aside. His conscience would not allow him to abandon her. He knew that if he left her now, she might have no other chance. As he cared for her, he worried and silently prayed for her to wake up. He wished for a small miracle, just for her to open her eyes, to move, or to utter a weak sound. He did not need to know who she was or where she came from, he only hoped she could say a single word, just one, so he would know how to find her family. Sitting by the flickering fire, he murmured to himself, convinced that somewhere, she must have children or loved ones waiting for her. 2 days passed slowly and heavily, time stretching endlessly in weary anticipation. The poor man remained steadfast by her side, his heart full of unease and fear. He had only one wish, that the woman would wake up, so her family could come and take her home, so she would not have to remain in this unfamiliar place, alone and silent. Back with Hung, the worry inside him has now turned into an uncontrollable panic. Unable to sit and wait any longer, he rushes outside, asking people one by one, clinging to the faint hope that someone might have seen his mother. From the next-door neighbors, people he greets every day, to old acquaintances in the neighborhood, all they can do is shake their heads. No one knows where his mother has gone, no one has seen her in the past few days. Each short, decisive answer cuts into Hung's heart like a knife, leaving him even more shaken. Refusing to give up, Hung seeks out his mother's close friends, those she used to visit and chat with. He hopes that at the very least she might have stopped by somewhere, or said something to someone. But one door after another closes, one sympathetic look after another offers no answers. The air around Hung seems to thicken, making it hard for him to breathe. With every step back home, his feet feel heavier, as the fear inside him grows clearer and more intense. In his confusion and despair, Hung suddenly remembers Aunt Hoa, his mother's longtime close friend who lives far away. In the past, whenever something troubled her or she had something hard to say, his mother would call Aunt Hoa. Thinking of this, Hung hurriedly dials the number, silently praying for news. The phone rings, then connects. He tries to keep his voice steady as he asks, but the answer he receives still weighs heavily on his heart. Aunt Hoa knows nothing either. It has been a long time since she last heard from his mother. The call ends in heavy silence, leaving Hung standing motionless with the phone in his hand. A sense of helplessness rises to its peak. Hung drops into a chair, his mind spinning with tangled thoughts. Just then, an idea flashes through his head, making him jump up as if he has grasped the last thread of hope. The security camera in front of the house. He hurriedly opens the camera system, his hands trembling as he rewinds and reviews every recorded clip from the past few days. The screen lights up, familiar images appear, but Hung's heart grows heavier, and a bad feeling becomes increasingly clear. He watches every moment closely, every small movement. Then his heart tightens when he sees it. After he left the house, his mother appears at the front door. She steps outside slowly, her face pensive, as if burdened with heavy thoughts. Not long after, a young man with a menacing appearance enters the frame. Even through the screen, Hung can sense the tension of their encounter. They stand talking, their voices seemingly raised, their gestures growing sharper, clearly arguing about money. Hung holds his breath as he keeps watching. He sees his mother shake her head, her expression filled with worry. From what the camera captures, he can guess that she is saying she doesn't have the money yet, that her son is trying to find a way. She tries to explain, to delay, but the young man seems dissatisfied. The atmosphere between them grows more and more tense, and every gesture, every glance sends a chill down Hung's spine. Then comes the moment that nearly makes Hung collapse. After a while, the two seem to agree to go somewhere together. His mother follows the young man, leaving the camera's frame. The last image recorded is her figure slowly disappearing from view. From that moment on, she never appears on the camera again. The screen remains lit, the video has finished playing, but Hung stands frozen. His heart pounds painfully, his ears ring, his mind goes blank. Everything before him seems to crumble. The image of his mother leaving the house, following that stranger, replays endlessly in his mind. A cold fear envelopes Hung, signaling that his mother's disappearance is far from as simple as he had tried to convince himself. Hoai Ca returns home as the afternoon is already wearing on. The moment she steps across the threshold, she immediately senses the heavy atmosphere pressing down on the entire house. Hung is sitting there, his face exhausted, his eyes red as if he has gone through far too many thoughts in a short span of time. Just by looking at him, Hoai Ca knows that the situation has become far more serious than what she had worried about back at the market. Hung tells her everything, from asking the neighbors who knew nothing, to calling Aunt Hoa and finding no clues at all, to the footage from the security camera in front of the house that he has watched over and over again countless times. At first, he tries to keep his voice steady, but as he goes on, it grows heavier and begins to choke. When he reaches the moment his mother left the house, followed that unfamiliar young man, and disappeared from the camera's frame, Hung can no longer hold back his emotions, his hands clenching tightly as if to preserve his last bit of composure. Hoai Ca listens quietly, without interrupting, without rushing to pass any judgment. In Hung's eyes, she sees self-blame, torment, and a growing fear. When he finishes, the house falls into silence once more. This time, however, the silence is not as cold, because Hoai Ca is there, sitting beside him. She does not blame Hung for not being at home, nor does she panic or become flustered by what she has just heard. Her voice is gentle and slow, as if trying to pull him out of the chaotic whirl in his mind. Hoai Ca advises him to calm down, take deep breaths, and look at everything more clearly. She reminds him to review every detail in the camera footage carefully, to recall each time mark and every small action, because sometimes it is precisely those seemingly minor details that become important clues. She also tells Hung that, if necessary, they should seek help from the authorities. This is no longer just a family matter, but a matter of someone's safety. Hoai Ca emphasizes that finding his mother requires support from many sides, and that no one has the right to blame Hung for what has happened. She gently places her hand on his shoulder, her gaze sincere and steady, as if passing him a bit of strength to help him stand firmer in this moment. Hoai Ca encourages Hung not to blame himself. She says that in such circumstances, no one could have foreseen everything. What matters most now is maintaining his strength of mind, because only by staying clear-headed and strong can he continue searching for his mother. Her words are not loud, nor overly emotional, but they are warm enough to make Hung feel that he is not alone. Hung sits in silence for a long while, then slowly nods. He turns to look at Hoai Ca, a deep sense of gratitude welling up inside him. At a time when everything seems to be collapsing, her presence and calmness are the only anchor keeping him from falling apart. He thanks her, briefly, without many words, but with all the sincerity he has for the person who has stood by him through the hardest days. And in that very moment, a determination unlike any he has felt before rises within Hung. He tells himself that no matter the cost, he must find his mother. He will not give up or retreat, no matter how difficult the road ahead may be. He will repay all the debts weighing down on his family, protect his mother, and bring his family back to the peaceful days they have lost. That resolve quietly takes shape, silent yet unwavering, becoming the sole force that drives Hung forward as he steps into the storm waiting ahead. Night falls slowly, bringing with it a heavy silence that envelopes Hung's small house. The light in the living room is still on, casting its glow over his exhausted face as he once again sits in front of the familiar camera screen. Hung's eyes are red and burning dry from staring for too long, yet he refuses to let himself stop. Every second of footage is rewound and replayed, slowly and carefully, as if a single careless moment might cause him to miss the most crucial clue. Each tiny movement on the screen makes his heart tighten. He hopes, no matter how faintly, that another small trace will appear, some detail he might have overlooked during the day. Outside, the night grows deeper. The silence is so complete that even the ticking of the wall clock can be heard clearly. Hung sits motionless, his hands clasped together, his eyes fixed on the screen. In his mind, the image of his mother stepping out of the house, speaking with the unfamiliar young man, and then disappearing from the frame repeats endlessly. Each time he watches it again, his anxiety rises a little more. He wonders if there is anything else he could do, if there might be some detail capable of changing everything. But the more he watches, the more unresponsive the screen becomes, reflecting only his own helplessness. Meanwhile, in the small kitchen at the back, Hoai Ca quietly prepares dinner. Her familiar movements are slow, almost automatic. She rinses the rice, washes the vegetables, lights the stove, yet her thoughts are far from the tasks at hand. Each time she hears the sound of the video rewinding from the living room, her heart aches slightly. Hoai Ca understands that Hung is pouring his last remaining hope into those images. She says nothing more, not wanting to distract him, silently doing what she can so that the house does not sink completely into gloom. In Hoai Ca's heart, unspoken prayers follow one after another. She prays that the worst will not happen, that Hung's mother is still safe somewhere, that everything is merely a cruel misunderstanding. Though she tries to appear calm on the outside, deep within, she cannot escape her own fear. She understands that once certain things happen, no one can truly control them, and that this very waiting is what exhausts people the most. Elsewhere, far from that house, night also quietly settles over a poor, simple hut. The poor man still sits by the bedside, a flickering oil lamp illuminating his deeply lined face and eyes heavy with concern. On the small bed, the elderly mother lies unconscious, her breathing faint but steady. He gazes at her for a long time, then lets out a soft, sorrowful sigh. In that humble dwelling, there is nothing but silence and unspoken worry. The man remains patiently at her side, listening to each fragile breath, as if afraid that looking away for even a moment might mean the woman would never open her eyes again. He does not know who she is, nor where her family might be, yet a deep sense of empathy rises within him. Each time he looks at her gaunt face, he thinks of how her children or loved ones might also be waiting anxiously somewhere, just as he is waiting now for a small sign of life. Two places, two different spaces, yet bound together by the same heavy waiting. On one side is a son exhausting all hope on lifeless footage. On the other is a poor man silently guarding the fragile life of an unfamiliar mother. Both are waiting for the same thing, life, a return, and a ray of light in the darkness that surrounds them. Will Hung's mother awaken after those days of exhaustion and unconsciousness? Will Hung find his mother in time before everything becomes too late? And what truth lies hidden behind that fateful encounter, the meeting that changed the fate of everyone involved? All remains unanswered, quietly suspended in the night, waiting to be revealed.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình nhé. Mình đang làm video cho sáng mai đăng. Nhưng bữa nay mình cũng không có tinh thần mới nên là mình làm nó hơi cà giật cà chẹt, nó không có đẹp. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều.